brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Dynastic for Tiako, 6 of the best.
Angel eyes, she knows exactly how to tantalize. She's out to get you.
Pin me up in front for Sam Weatherly, and Pin Me Up wins the Karaka Million Classic.
Compromise. She's something mystical in color lights. So far from typical, but take my advice. Before you play with fire, do think twice. And if you get burned, don't be surprised. Lifted, drifting higher than the ceiling. Ooh, baby, it's the ultimate feeling. You got me lifted, feeling so gifted. Sugar, how you get so fly.
A cracker of a night at Ellerslie on Saturday evening. We hope you enjoyed the wonderful racing that was Karaka Million 2022. We're going to review it, update you and hear from some of the champions of the turf we saw on Saturday night here on Wayan. Kia ora, good morning, welcome to the show. Emily Bosson not with us this morning. She is enjoying a well-deserved break. Like all of us, she loved what we saw coming out of the big night. So too did this man, Paul Wilcox, in charge of Auckland Thoroughbred Racing. And Paul, good morning, congratulations. And we dodged a bullet, a red settings light bullet, because had some announcements made yesterday had been made on Friday, we could have had a vastly different Karaka Million night experience.
It would have been interesting, Michael, to say the least, if we'd gone into red light before the Karaka Million, and I think we dodged 2 bullets. It's raining here in Auckland this morning, so delighted the rain's held off and delighted the Prime Minister made her announcement, even though I don't like it, later to get the racing underway.
A special night, a big crowd. It was a party Auckland and the industry were waiting for. Around 8,000 people turned up on Saturday night. Yeah,
delighted with the crowd, just over 8,012 people, so very happy with the numbers we got there, and I think people let their hair down knowing full well that it was only a matter of time when Omicron started appearing in the community, so it is what it is.
We will touch on that and what it means for the racing community later in the show, but this is about a celebration, and as so many celebrations these days at Ellerslie happen to be, it was decorated in tangerine.
Out wider, Lord Cosmos. Wolverine is on the prowl as well as they come for home. Further back then Dynastic, and then came Fellini, then came Alabama Gold. Time flies, went away by 3 here. Wolverine tried to hunt it down and coming after them now. Here's Dynastic. Dynastic ranged up, Wolverine coming with it. Further out then we've got Fellini. It's Dynastic in front from Wolverine and Fellini, and then Time flies. Dynastic for Tiako, 6 of the best. Tiako win it again with Dynastic second. Wolverine.
I know, David, you're a person who likes to dream big, but 6 years ago you couldn't dream you would win 6 straight Karaka Millions.
No, I couldn't have believed it. There's a lot of very good bloodstock agents out there, and there's a lot of very good trainers that do a great job. So you just need so much luck, and it helps when you have the owners that will allow and support me to buy these good horses.
One of those owners, in a syndicate of course, owning Dynastic, is Brendan Lindsay. To him, as the boss of Cambridge Stud and the man who stands El Manzur on the South Island, this is a huge, huge accomplishment.
Oh, it's just incredible for the yearling sales that are coming up for Al Mansour. There's a lot of yearlings by him in the sale. We've got 12 Al Mansours in the stable, and they can all gallop. So he's a serious sire, which is something New Zealand really needs in the future. And we're great that Waikato Stud and Windsor Park have both got shares in this colt. So it's been a great team effort with them and also for our owners.
You mentioned Windsor Park. They obviously took the horse to the sales last year. Beautiful looking yearling. You had to pay serious money for him, but it's worth it now.
Oh yeah, he's going to be a very valuable colt. You wait till this horse is a 3-year-old. He'll only have another 2 starts as a 2-year-old. He'll run in 2 more races, that's it. and we'll get him ready for the big 3-year-old races in the spring.
Well, I know one of those 2 races will be the Sistema Diamond Stakes. So are you going to Matamata before or Awapuni after?
We'll let him tell us. We'll see how he comes through the race. If he's a little bit shin sore, which he could be, he'll go to the paddock and then go to the Sistema and the size produce at Manawatu. So we'll just let him tell us. But 1600 metres, this is what this colt's going to be just crying out for.
I've got to ask you this because no one's ever done it and no one else would ever do it again. When you win the same race 6 times, does it get blasé at all?
I can promise you it does not. It's just the biggest thrill in life you could ever have. And Karen, my wife, said, I want you to go and lead this horse in, which is something I don't normally do. But as I was coming down with the horse, and Opie was up there, and the boys get paid was chanting out, there's only one Opie boss, and I honestly had a tear rolling down my cheek. It was just such an emotional experience because it's just so hard to do, quite frankly.
Do you think maybe we could get a there's only one David Ellis chair started at the sales?
It's just a great industry to be part of, and I'm so thrilled and proud to be part of it.
There is clearly only one David Ellis, the man behind this enormous Tiakau machine. We'll talk more about that shortly. By the way, Al Mansour doesn't stand in the South Island. I was excited on the night. He stands in the Southern Hemisphere. Congratulations to Brendan and Joe Lindsay, also from Cambridge. Not only do they share in the ownership along with the other Tiakau owners in that syndicate, but of course, they stand Al Mansour, and there's plenty of serious Al Mansours, both in the sales and already in training in New Zealand, Paul. That's why this was so crucial. We needed a horse like him to stand up for the industry. Tavachi's doing the same thing for Waikato. So while that was a thrill for punters who backed this horse into 2.5, it probably was even more important for the breeding industry as a whole.
100%, and I think what David said there as well, you wait to the 3-year-olds. That's the style of horse that Al Mansour's throwing. So to get a 2-year-old winner, as you've seen here, did it the hard way, had to push off the bend there. I thought Wolverine, when it came into the straight, was in the gun position, and Leith rode Wolverine perfectly. But Dynastic, Al Mansour, unbelievable, and just delighted for Brendan and Joe Lindsay.
Wasn't an easy watch. He half missed the kick, was back on the inside. I don't think anybody rides the centrifugal force on a bend better than Opie from inside to outside, unencumbered. Perfect ride, horse heavily backed in, as you would expect with Jamie and Opie behind him. So, spoke to Jamie this morning. They are talking about Group 1s. They're not sure whether that is the Sistema Diamond for your race meeting on February 3rd, March 13th, or potentially the Group 1 out of Awapuni. As you said, everybody thinks he's a 3-year-old. He looks like a 3-year-old. That's perhaps the most exciting part about this horse.
I think so, and when you look at the Al Mansours, and I haven't seen many, but have seen enough, they really look like those classic style of horses. So for him to get a 2-year-old winner, that's just unbelievable and great for our industry again. Cambridge Stud looks like they've got a good stallion to carry on the deeds of Sir Tristram and Zabeel.
Also great for our industry, Wolverine staying in New Zealand at this stage. So the runner-up heads to the paddock, will be set for the size produce out of Awapuni on April the 2nd. Fellini, Jamie said they'll back off it, give it a slightly longer break. It may be seen later into the season, not so much so for a race like the Sistema Diamond. Great race. Opie Bosson, now his last 5 Karaka Million 2-year-old rides had been winners. Of course, Tiakau won last year with Jonathan Parks. Opie was suspended at that stage. Remarkable race, the start or the midpoint of a remarkable evening, as it is so often these days for Jamie, for Tiakau, and for a new jockey in the Tangerine, Sam Weatherly. Here is the Karaka Classic Mile.
Pin Me Up works round out deeper, followed by Carmen Line. Further back, leading man as they turn for home for Sophisticado. The landing well back also is reined in as they head down to the 250. On the bubbles, made the lead. Miss Ella's coming after it, and down the outside here comes Pin Me Up. Pin Me Up ranged out for Miss Ella. Running on late, Tutu Kaka as well. It's Pin Me Up. Tutu Kaka's about a length and a half away. Pin Me Up in front for Sam Weatherly. And Pin Me Up wins the Karaka Million Classic. Second over.
Well, they said your career was going to the next level. It just did.
Yeah, I think sounds like you're my number one fan, Mick. You always give me plugs, but no, I can't believe the way this season's sort of turning out. I sort of thought at the start of the season, where are the horses, you know? And I'm very fortunate to have Dad behind me, and I was very lucky to have a good New Year's Day, which I think is why I've ended up on both of these Te Akau runners today, and I'm just glad I could deliver for them, you know, because they didn't have to put me on, and no, very thankful to Jamie and David and Karen, you know, like it's a massive thrill for me.
Let's talk about this filly, because I suppose there's less pressure with her than a horse like Fellini, because she was such long odds, so you could go out there and ride your race.
Yeah, that's true, and but to be fair, Jamie filled me with a lot of confidence, because I heard him tipping her out saying she's probably their best rough chance of the night, and he doesn't get too many wrong. And look, I would have been happy to run a minor and such a big race, and when I hit the front I thought, oh no, have I gone too soon? But wow, she sort of just put them away, and she's just crying out for more distance. So she's only a handful of starts, and the owners are really reaping the rewards now.
A magical January to start 2022. How does this make Sam Weatherly, the man, feel about his riding career going forward? Are you getting better because of the success?
I think so. I'm definitely really confident in myself at the moment, and I'm really loving it, and it's a big part of it. Like it's very hard to get out there and do it when you don't want to be there, and I've been through those times, and I'm fortunate I've got a very good support crew around me, my family. I've got a beautiful partner who keeps me on the straight and narrow, and I'm just really enjoying it, and I think it's shown in my riding, and getting on better stock helps as well, but just very thankful for all the opportunities I'm getting.
Maybe take those colours, put them in your gear bag, don't give them back.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to get more rides to them, and just so glad I could deliver. And Jamie and the Richards family, you know, they're such wonderful people, and I've known them for a wee while now. So, so very special to win a big race for them.
The weatherman making it rain in the 3-year-old on Saturday night. And Paul, as much as I think people were stunned by the result, a lot of feel-good in the industry towards Sam Weatherly. He's a guy who's had to work really hard on his weight. 2 years ago in lockdown, got from 65 kilos back down to 53. A talent who you get the feeling has now emerged.
Absolutely, and it was shown on the day, and even on the night after the big race, one would be forgiven if they didn't want to come out to the dice, but he popped out, he spoke, he was quite nervous about speaking, but that just shows the level that he's gone to, and as you mentioned, that professionalism, and by gee, it was a great ride where he came from and what he had to do, just had the horse bang on.
Pressure was on in the race, of course, on the bubbles. Opie Bosson got trapped 3 wide, had to go forward from there, and the jockeys inside him had no interest in handing him the lead, as is their right. That set it up for the swoopers, and swoop they did. The daughter of Pins getting home. One of the people behind her, Andy Williams, helped choose her from the sales for Te Akau, but they have once again won the $2 million races. Had to be impressed by Karaka. I thought really good Derby trial there. Lots of good runs actually in behind the winner, who now may head to an Oaks path, but Karaka the eye catcher.
Karaka, absolutely, and I think witnessing that and watching that just there again, how he's eating up the last couple of hundred on the way home, he's definitely got to be a Derby favourite now, and love the horse, always have, always followed him. The last start prior to this one at Ellerslie, you just put a line through it, don't worry about it, he'll be there in the Derby.
Jamie Richards once again dominated the Karaka Million night. Let's hear from the man himself about his last Karaka Million meeting for quite some time.
Well, that's a hell of a way to sign off this phase of your Karaka Million career.
Yeah, amazing day. Obviously, Dynastic was great in the 2-year-old, and Sort of State was great before him. On the bubbles, just had no luck in running. I don't think you can condemn him on that, but I was quietly confident this filly was starting to come right. I liked the way that she ran here a fortnight ago, and yeah, great to get a win for Peter Collier in Sydney, and Andy Williams, who's obviously family. So yeah, thrilled with how that last race went.
Is it a weird feeling to have a $1.50 favourite get beat but still win the race?
I don't mind who wins. It's all good. But yeah, as you say, there was a lot of money on the bubbles, and unfortunately he just didn't have any luck in running. But he'll live to fight another day, and this is a filly that's on an upward trajectory.
Still lots of business to be done before you leave for Hong Kong, but it must be slightly sad to be leaving the Karaka Million behind for now.
Oh, for sure. It's a great concept. It's the biggest night of the year in our opinion, and we always try and have a nice team of horses here. And long may this night continue to grow. It's going from strength to strength, and it's an important date on the calendar, not only for the racing participants, but also for the general public. So it's a great night.
What does this filly do next? Not that it really matters after you've won $1 million race, but what sort of horse do you see her turning into, Jamie?
Oh, she's going to develop into a staying sort of filly. I think much like Dynastic as a 2-year-old, an immature type of horse, this filly as a 3-year-old, still very immature. And she's got it all in front of her for the back end of this season and again next year. So whether she's an Oaks filly, I'm not sure, but we'll just get her home and space her races out a little bit and see where we end up.
Great for Sam Weatherly. I got a young guy who's taken that next step, and that's why you and David said we'll come on board.
Yeah, I took note of the way that he rode here on New Year's Day, and he narrowly beat us in the Rich Hill, and he won the Auckland Guineas well. And Sam's the next generation of riders coming through. Opie and Leith and those boys aren't going to be here forever, so got to get in behind these guys and support them. He obviously learned his craft in Sydney in a really competitive jurisdiction, and I think he's starting to mature into a really nice young rider.
You've won the Karaka Million 2-year-old with a horse like Probabeel, who you just knew was going to be better at 3. You've got another one of those now. I know he's not going to be yours next season, but Dynastic just has classic horse written all over him.
Yeah, he's going to be a beautiful colt for the 2000 Guineas at Riccarton, and unfortunately that's part of me leaving. I don't get the privilege of being able to do that, but the business is going to be in great hands with Mark, and all the very best for them for next season.
Not many people are impossible to replace, Paul, but I would suggest there's only one, Jamie Richards. His stamp on not just the Karaka Million night, but the industry in the last 6 years has been quite phenomenal for a young man.
Absolutely, and his attention to detail is something that I haven't seen for a very, very long time, but he is right. Mark Walker coming back, we lose nothing there. 4-time champion trainer in New Zealand before he went up to Singapore. Not discrediting Jamie at all, because Jamie's one of those guys, if anyone's going to go up to Hong Kong as a trainer and make it, Jamie's definitely that person going up there to do it.
So his thoughts there that Pin Me Up could well head down an Oaks path. Whether she makes it there or not may depend on maturity. Tutakaka's clearly going to head to the Derby. He spoke to Jamie this morning about On the Bubbles, who just had no luck, and maybe that stretched to about 1,600 metres, but Jamie is going to give him another go. So he's going to head to the Sullivan Classic. That's Group 1. That's coming up at the Trentham Carnival in March now. He's into $5 for that. Imperatriz we'll see a little bit later in the show. Pin Me Up, I would suggest probably this won't be her logical target. More likely for her would be an Oaks campaign, which would see her extending possibly out to races at Ellerslie, Hastings or Tarapa. More likely the first of those two to get out to 2,000 metres sooner rather than later. Carmen Line, also excellent in that race, finishing 3rd. There's the Derby market. Tutakaka now sits alongside Seamus at the top of the market. Dark Destroyer, who will give Sam Weatherly potentially a chance at $2 million races over the summer, and the Perfect Pink at $10 has been set for that rather than the Oaks. That's the $1 million races out of the way from a super night. Plenty more action coming up on Weigh In as we go through all the highlights.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Welcome back to Weigh In, and thank you to all our sponsors who enable us to tell the stories of New Zealand racing. There were plenty of them on Saturday night, including the Westbury Classic for the girls, where a Khaleesi came out on top.
One more time, the leader from Faithful Feet, out wide Multime. Now where's his favourite, Emeralina? She's still 2 lengths away. And behind these is Dragon Queen. Faithful Feet ranged up to One More Time. Running on now, Emeralina, Dragon Queen, and now Alley Cat. It's Faithful Feet in front of the 100. Coming after it, Dragon Queen on the outside. Battling away then with Gotton. Behind them is One More Time at the line. Oh, gee, that's close. That is very close here between either Dragon Queen with the angle in his favour or Faithful Feet. Right there, one more time, storming home.
Well, she deserved that, Pam. A couple of ripper runs lately and very brave.
I think her whole life she's had ripper runs, you know. She's just probably lacked a little bit of strength, and you can't, you know, she's just got the biggest heart and she just tries. And, you know, a lot of her runs have been on wetter tracks. She just loves Auckland, loves it firm, and her and Taiki got a real relationship.
Has that strength started to come now that she's about 4.5?
Yeah, well, if you look at her, you know, she's just a shadow. I used to cringe every time I brought her out the box and think, what am I doing wrong? I just can't get any weight on her, but she still tried her heart out. And this year she's come back and she's been exceptional. And, you know, in between runs, I'm not losing her, so we can plan a little bit. And but the size of her heart's just massive.
The owners obviously absolutely thrilled. A mare with Group 2 now. That's pretty special stuff for them.
Yeah, you know, there's some, you know, obviously some big owners here, So and Glenn and that, you know, they'd usually be here. It's all about getting these guys to the races on these big nights, and you've got to be in with a chance. And I bought her, Ellen came down during the week and I bought her out of the box and I said, I'll see you on Saturday night with the trophy. So I'm pleased I got it right.
We know she can run 1600, and there's good races for mares who can run 1600. So there's a Group 1 not too far away in a couple of months. Will that be a natural target for her?
I don't know. Like, well, honestly, we didn't know where we were against these today, so it was a bit of a line to see where we were. Obviously, we've got targets in Melbourne maybe as well. But look, no plans tonight. We know she's Group 2, 1 and placed now, so like we won't make any plans, but she can get better black type up here now. At one stage we were looking at the South Island, so maybe we don't have to go there anymore. So we'll just see how she comes through it.
You might be looking at a different, bigger island over across the Tasman, because I'm sure at some stage Mike will ring for the conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty lucky that she actually stayed here, to be quite honest, because she was going. It's very, very hard for those 3-year-old fillies to be placed here. They get lumped with a lot of weight in open classes, and it's just tough, you know. It's really, really tough for them. So I'm pleased that we did decide to leave her here, or the owners did. You know, Mike will get a turn. Her time will come when she'll get over there, but, you know, her value's just gone up today, so.
Pam, talking about tough miles, Harlech's going to find himself on one next Saturday, the Thorndon. It looked not too tough a month ago. It's turning into an awfully serious race for him now.
Yeah, no, it's great, isn't it? We've just got great racehorses out there, so, and that's what we want to see. So, you know, good horses in good races, good punting, good owners. Good luck to all of them.
Okay, the sales are coming up. They're a bit later than usual in March. We know Mike likes to get across for the sales. Has he given up yet, or is he still a chance of being here?
He's trying to get here, but something's holding us back. So I don't know. Like we managed last year. I thought it was a big effort from Paul and Mike and Mikey here, and you know, all of us. We did what we could do. We got as much video footage through to them, and I don't think we did too bad. So if we have to do it that way again, you know, Mike's always got to buy horses here. He loves them, and he always backs a New Zealand racehorse.
Dragon Queen gets her Group 2 in the Westbury. Excellent run, Paul, I thought, from the second horse. Jodlin Girl, really good, got out of her ground in a slow speed race, and probably that tempo or lack of it didn't help Amaralina, who was heavily backed, but once she got back off that, looked a little bit dour in the straight. Thought a race where a lot of horses heading forward will be worth following, Lee Creyer being another one.
Absolutely, and I think the form coming out of this race going forward is going to be something a lot of people should be looking at. Re-watch the race and have a look at those horses in behind Dragon Queen, and you'll see them go on and perform.
Looking at them on the inside is Alley Cat in the trail. She pulled up a touch sore, so she didn't show her best, and as mentioned, Amaralina probably not suited by the tempo. Jodlin Girl, who was heavily backed by the Boys Get Paid, just got in the wrong spot for the race, stormed home, as does Lee Creyer. Probably the run of the race coming in through in the blue and white colours. Question now is, where do they find a Group 1 for Dragon Queen, because of course she's got the Group 2 already, so should be an excellent form race heading forward. On the subject of Travelling Light, who disappointed there, Ben Foot indicating she may well be retired and off to stud. One horse of his who won't be heading to stud anytime soon and is just off to the winner's circle is Babylon Berlin. Here's the Concord.
Severini riding the wave, and last of all, as they come to the corner, is Monaco. Homeward bound in the Concord, 400 metres to go. Babylon Berlin led by 2. Coming after it, Iconic Star, 2 lengths away. Romantic Lady, then followed by Familiar. Further out then is Festivity from Dragon Leap, but still Babylon Berlin. Can she hold on? She led by 2. Now warming up. Festivity's coming after her strongly with Iconic Star, but it's still Babylon Berlin. Festivity trying hard, can't get there. Babylon Berlin all the way. Festivity second, third over.
Well, she's very, very fast.
Yep, she's super fast, and at least she ran out 1200 today, so I was pretty happy about that.
Was it hard to pick her up after a hard run on the railway, Ben?
No, I don't think so. You know, we're not far away from here, so yeah, I was pretty happy the way she bounced through it.
Okay, there's 1200 metre options. I presume she'll be coming back here for the Cup Carnival, or do you sneak up to 14 and have another Group 1 crack?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that. I don't know. I just don't know if she'll go 1400 or not. You know, we've only gone 1400 once, and we tried to ride her in behind, which didn't work. So, yeah, I mean, she will go 1400 one day. We're just not sure when.
Ben, one of the great things about racing horses, particularly fast horses, is racing with your mates, and you have a bunch of friends in this horse who, shall I say, may not be the best for your health, Ben.
No, absolutely not. But I put them in just so we can have a bit of fun on the way, you know.
Here's one of them here, Andrew Stewart, well known in the harness racing industry. How did you end up? How do you end up on a horse like this?
Good luck, I suppose. Yeah, just the friends you meet along the way, and I've ended up involved in a lovely horse. Yeah.
Not your first good galloper either. You guys had a good galloper who won the Sarton, I think, about 5 years ago.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I bred one, and Sam Beatson and Footy played their part in it, and we ended up, we won a good race with it, and we sold it for a lot of money. Yeah, it was great.
I take it, even though you're a horse trainer, you don't stick your big nose in, you just pay your bills and do what you're told?
Well, yeah, I just do what I'm told. You know that. Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Yeah, but no. Sam and Footy have been great mates for a long time. You know, it's great we can enjoy a moment like this together. Yeah.
Do you learn anything from the galloping that you can take back to harness racing as a harness racing trainer, or vice versa? Do the boys here learn something in reverse?
Yeah, to be quite fair, they've learned everything off me. Yeah, they were nothing till they met me. Yeah,
I heard that.
Yeah. You look back 5 years ago, where were they?
I take it you won't be heading home to Christchurch tonight then?
No, yeah, hopefully Becky lets me start another night. Yeah, but I'd like to stay one more night if I could. Yeah.
A bit of a contrast from some of the major syndicates and some of the, shall we say, more established owners like Brendan Lindsay, you'll hear from very shortly. A good, young, fun bunch of blokes behind this horse pool, and they've got themselves an awfully serious mare who's going to make an awfully serious broodmare.
And it's even better that I had the money on Babylon Berlin as well. But look, great run, jumped, got to the front, sat on the rail, kicked, only horse on the whole night over the whole 6 races that got to the front and led and didn't get swooped at the end, so delighted.
Gee, it was a comfortable watch. She just got to the lead so easily from barrier 10, and then she controlled the tempo. Beautiful ride from Michael McNabb. Here you knew you were home. The question was, how quickly is Festivity going to close? Very good Festivity, but some of the other horses in the race who were backed, Marcus Aurelius never got into the race, Dragon Leap the same, Gino Severini, all of them, Paul, were out of play a long way from home.
Absolutely, and I think the big thing for me is actually the maturity of Michael McNabb, how he's riding now as well, and seeing him on Babylon Berlin, not a jockey in the country that would have been able to ride it like Michael did. He's been riding, and that's why he's leading the championship at the minute.
Yeah, very good at those soft hands races and the field races, and gets on beautifully with this mare. They have a fast mare. Whether they try for a Group 1 over the 1400 metres, they've already got a placing, of course, in the railway. They may be probably thinking they can't win the race, the BCD, coming out of Te Rapa. Just on the BCD out of Te Rapa, both Levante and Entrevilla are on target for that. So Te Rapa have a very special sprint race coming up. The El Manzor Trophy was well named on the night. He is going to be one of the stars of New Zealand breeding, and his connections at Cambridge Stud also own the horse who took out their own trophy. Here is the first win for this season for last season's champion juvenile, Sword of State.
And behind them is Bonnie Lass from We Will Rock, then Rhinoceros, and out wide Mohawk Brave. It's Sword of State at the 100. He's 2 lengths in front from Imperatriz, and then We Will Rock, Sword of State, and the Cambridge Stud colours wins the Cambridge Stud El Manzor Trophy.
Well, it's nice to win the sponsored race.
Well, I was hoping they wouldn't take it off us since we were a sponsor, but it's pretty blooming exciting for that horse to come back, Michael. When he came back from Australia, he had a bit of a foot abscess, and Jamie, to get him here tonight, and Obi said he just wanted to be there. He said he actually wanted to win. He said, God, I had a horse under me tonight. It's bloody exciting.
60.5 kilos too in a quality field. It's not an easy thing to achieve fresh up, Brendan.
No, it's not. And obviously he's destined to be a stallion at Stamage Cuds one day. But I mean, this is a journey on his racing career, and it's a group race. It's great. It's a signature night. It's just fantastic.
Who's in charge of trying to plot the way to that stallion career? Because obviously we know another Group 1 would help, and some Australian black type would help even more. So is that you and Henry and heading forward Jamie and then Mark?
Absolutely, and also David. So we've talked and talked and talked. I mean, at the end of the day, the difference between winning a Group 1 in Australia and New Zealand is obviously a lot. And we're just trying to give the horse his chance. We took him to Australia, he had his chance, and he wasn't quite good enough. And we have to accept that. We've come home, he's proved that he actually is up to it, he is a good horse. I don't know where we go to from here. You know, maybe he goes back, maybe there's something else, but there's wiser heads than me that'll make that decision.
You wouldn't consider asking the boys and girls in a couple of days if maybe Te Rapa Group 1 1400 in a couple of weeks, nice and close to home? Wouldn't be a bad race?
Well, anything would be great, to be honest. I mean, I guess when you're on a bit of a high, it's hard to plan the next thing. I think we just got to enjoy the moment for what it is, and we've just got a magnificent horse that's proved he is a real top racehorse.
And great to have that Schnitzel blood eventually turning up at Cambridge Stud, because that's the sort of Australian speed blood we're going to need heading forward, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. Look, he's out in the Costa Lago mare. He's got a lot going to him for this horse on his pedigree, and I'm absolutely convinced that he'll be supported by New Zealand breeders. This helps, but I'm absolutely convinced, because he'll be the first son of Schnitzel standing in New Zealand.
Champion juvenile last season, that's his first win as a 3-year-old Paul. They now have to try and find something better. I would suggest, unlike an Australian 3-year-old, there's not that pressure to retire him at 3 and kick into stud at 4. So even if he doesn't get a Group 1 open grade win this season, he does have options, railways, telegraphs, and those type of races, you would think, next season.
Absolutely, and I think Brendan there's been a bit hard on the horse as well. When he did go to Australia, that was when Jamie was locked down here. So it's hard to train a horse when you're in one country, not even seeing him. So look, I think he's, after what he did on Saturday, that was impressive. But the one to watch in behind is Rhinoceros. He turned up, the trainer said they were just bringing him for a look around, and to blow the cobwebs out, he finished off really well for his future.
Yeah, he was super, as was Imperatriz in second, beaten by a very good horse, so the winner carried 60.5. So there's no excuses. He's just clearly better than those horses over 1200. Imperatriz, you would suggest, is going to be a factor, probably against the boys, because there's not many fillies races in that 12 to 14 slot coming up. Rhinoceros good, and We Will Rock You was really good. Happy to see the horse who was actually potentially a chance to start in the mile. Clearly he's a better sprinter. I think they've got a pretty nice horse on their hands there, the Culinary stable.
100%, and what you'll find from these races is again, the form will carry on through, and we'll see these horses turning out and performing very well in the next campaigns.
That was sort of state. Probably the race which was the trickiest for both the club to pull together and the punters to work out was the Collinson 4X Karaka Cup. But the boys got paid, got it right. They got off on the right foot. Here is Rapid Falls, and here is a masterclass from Leith Innes.
Wider on the track, then we've got Sir Nate battling away in third spot as Rapid Falls went past Tiptronic. 2 lengths away, not a bad. Harada starting to run on. Out wider, then we've got Segundo and Sir Nate. Rapid Falls in front of the 150. Not a bad. Harada's a length and a half away. In third spot is Tiptronic, and out wider on the track then is Segundo, but Rapid Falls, and the boys get paid first up.
Well, Pikey, the plunge for the boys gets paid came off. You didn't get any yourself?
No, I own half of this one, so I didn't need to have a bet, Mick. A great result, especially in a $110,000 race.
Lovely ride by Leith, who's seeing them really well at the moment.
Yeah, he's come back after that lockdown. He was away from racing for a while, which might have done in the world of good, and he's riding in great form at the moment, and you can just see that tonight. It was a beautiful cold ride, and she was going to win a long way from home.
What do you do with a mare like her now?
Yeah, look, progressive mare, probably unlucky not to win the Dunstan as well, so we'll just monitor her. She's still just starting to mature now, really, so like if she holds together for an Auckland Cup campaign, that's a possibility, or she's going to be a really nice Cups mare next season.
Okay, so Cups as in 22 to 24, or are you thinking you have a crack at 32 because it gives you quite a few big targets for next season?
Yeah, possibly maybe have a crack, whether it's this year or next year. Lee said she switches off so well on the run that he's pretty confident she'll get the trip, but obviously until you've tried to run out the 2 miles, you just don't know.
So the boys got paid, started their day with that big $50,000 win bet, Paul. We can't talk about Karaka Million night without talking about them. Such a huge part of the evening, what Luke and his team are able to do. They returned 27% profit on their 600-odd thousand. None of this is easy to pull together. They have help from the TAB. They have enormous help from you guys. It's a wonderful relationship which adds so much to New Zealand racing.
It is, and myself and Kemi's, we're twins. Obviously not in height there, Michael, as you well know.
No, clearly not, Paul.
But no, I love what he does. He obviously appreciates what we do, and it's a partnership that works well. Tony Pike was reasonably relieved as his horse went over the line, and he said some things to me which I won't repeat here, but no, it was good for him to get the club off to a good start with that win, and boys get paid getting paid out for that first race, which is great.
Not by any means am I saying this race is a disappointment. It's a wonderful race. It's a great addition to the calendar. But we have had a succession of small fields. How do we get around that? Why is that?
Interesting, very very good point. And yes, this is not the first race that's been on the smaller side in regards to numbers and for reasonable money as well, 110,000 for the stayers. Look, it's something that myself, Craig Baker, Andrew Seabrook and James from New Zealand Bloodstock are looking at, and we've got to change it around to make sure that we get better quality fields for what's an important night. Is it the fact that race is actually in the right spot? That's something we're going to look at as well and make a decision so that we get 6 real quality races on what is a special night.
A wonderful occasion. It could have been so different had the red light setting been changed on Thursday or Friday. What does that mean heading forward now? It's Monday morning. We are now at red light around the country, and we are going to be for a while. What does it mean for Cup time if we are still in the red light setting? Derby Day and the meetings in between at this stage. Will there be smaller crowds? Will there be members only, owners only? How do you see this evolving as best you can tell us at this stage?
Look, right at the minute, it's until we sit down. We're obviously pretty busy on the phones and the emails yesterday with the wider Ellerslie team and also Pukekohe Park. They've got a race meeting this coming Sunday at Ellerslie. That's obviously clearly affected by the red. That will be restricted clearly. Going forward until we see how long this is going to last and get a better feel for what it looks like and the longevity of the time that we're in red, it'll be very similar to what we've done before. So it's not something new to us. Yes, it's disappointing. It's a time when we can make a bit of cash after a long barren run being shut down from both racing and our event centre business as well. So until we look at it and come up with a plan, we'll do everything in our power. Our first priority is clearly our owners, because without owners in this great game, we'd be nowhere. So that's the first priority, and the rest will follow.
We feel for our friends at Trentham, for example. They have Wellington Cup this Saturday, and they will have to have reduced crowds because of the red light settings. The best advice for people who want to go to the races is follow the club's websites or loveracing.nz. Loveracing.nz will update you on whether it's owners only, whether it's hospitality available. We know it's a tricky time. The racing will continue. I would suggest NZTR will meet with the Jockeys Association soon to work out what happens next around getting the jockeys and other participants tested pre-race. There could be rapid antigen testing at the races to ensure that if Omicron does get into the community at large, it doesn't curtail racing, particularly with the jockeys. That's really important because there aren't that many of them. And if they do spend a lot of time together in the jockeys' room, which don't tend to be very big areas, Paul. So if it gets into the community for the jockeys, and say, for example, 5 or 10 of them have to stand out for 10 days, then we have an issue around race meetings.
100%, and interesting enough, right now there is a meeting going on, New Zealand Jockeys Association with NZTR and the major clubs working out exactly what that plan's going to be. Because if the jockeys get it, doesn't matter, we're buggered without the jockeys, right? So there's got to be a plan in place to make sure they're protected, and unfortunately if that does mean we have to go again behind closed doors, so be it, because we need those horses. There's a lot of important races coming up and we can't wreck their campaigns.
Bernard Saungy from NZTR saying to the jockeys and the trainers, hey, this is also on you. We're here to protect you, but if you spend less time in the community when Omicron is out there, then there's more chance you can go to work and keep the industry going. That was Karaka Million. For 2022, plenty more racing around the country and some important news to update you on the other side of this break on Weigh In.
What's so hard in the city? Hey, come here and love me tonight.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Thank you for taking the time to join us on a Monday morning. If you're watching later or around Australia, great to have your company on Weigh In. Wasn't just about Ellerslie on Saturday afternoon and into the evening. It was Gore Guineas Day, and Mackenzie Lads got the job done for Team Pittman, sadly with a very sombre end to the story.
The radiant one behind these going for home, Mackenzie Lads. Mackenzie Lads swept up to Ruby's Lad, and the two lads go to war again. Mackenzie Lads got the way on today. He's a half in front. Ruby's Lad is trying to shake him off. Going to third, Irish Red. Mackenzie Lad just in front, and Mackenzie Lad will take the Guineas. Mackenzie Lad got there.
Brave horse who sadly after the race took a foul step, and we lost Mackenzie Lads after the Gore Guineas on Saturday. It's always a tragedy on a racetrack when that happens, and our thoughts go to the connections of him. He goes out a winner of the last race of his career. Oddly, not a winner last night at Sha Tin, and it's not often we say that about Golden 60. The Golden Run was ended in a very unusual Stewards Cup. He's second from the outside, slow tempo, simply got too far back and couldn't catch Waikuku.
Golden 60 has 3 lengths to make up. Russian Empress coming with him. Waikuku's in front. Golden 60's running out of time. The fortress has crumbled. The record is safe. Waikuku has beaten Golden 60. Russian Emperor's run third. More Than This has run fourth. If Sha Tin wasn't silent, it would be now.
The only highlight of that race for most punters, Paul, was Mark McNamara's call.
I was just going to say
the midget was beautifully.
The midget was good. The midget was good.
You called him a midget.
Yeah, well,
that's
I'm
rich.
a midget myself, so
right.
We're allowed to talk about that.
Where did the other 5 of you guys hang out? Just on Golden 60, hard to be too hard on Vincent Hope, but he was back in the field, mouth was open, slow tempo. It looked yucky a long way from home.
Yeah, 100%. And probably about the 2:50 to go, I actually thought, oh, here he comes. And I must say, I was screaming at the TV, and the dog jumps up when I scream and it starts barking. And yeah, when the 50-metre board came up, then yeah, there was no chance. Sounds like fun and games at the Wilcox house on a Sunday night. Glad to see you spending time with the family, not watching racing after Karaka Million, no? Let's talk about Hong Kong and an amazing milestone for Paul O'Sullivan. He's one of the, not forgotten, but it's one of those heroes of New Zealand racing we don't get a chance to talk about very often. On Wednesday night at Happy Valley, he recorded his 500th. You heard that right, 500th Hong Kong training success. Ironically, in the same race where Karis Teeton recorded his 500th riding win. Good on you, Paul O'Sullivan. All of us back here in New Zealand are tremendously proud of you.
Angel, Shadow Runner's in front, and there's 500 for Paul O'Sullivan. Shadow Runner beat Lucky Archangel and Lores, followed in by Fortune Happiness.
You look pretty excited, Paul. He's going for a jog.
I haven't seen Paul O'Sullivan move that quick in a long time, but that's great, and it's another Matamata boy done well on the world stage. There's a lot of us around, so good to see. 500 for Paul O'Sullivan, none for Jamie Richards. I'm sure that scorecard's going to even up at some stage, and I'm sure what Paul has done, great, shall we say, inspiration to Jamie as he heads there likely early April. We have had a few little setbacks in racing recently with injuries to some of our leading jockeys.
many of them female. Danielle Johnson, of course, has been sidelined. She was at Karaka Million night in her temporary wheelchair. Also now sidelined, Lisa Allpress. Lisa was rolled on by a horse who had to be backed out of the barriers at the Hawera jump outs on Friday morning. Now, she does have a fracture in her ankle. She also had a laceration on her liver. I spoke to her last night. She's typical Lisa. She was chipper, and I'll be honest, she was having a gin, so things aren't too bad. But she won't be riding for the next 2 weeks and probably, Paul, the next month. That gives Michael McNabb and Craig Grills a chance to pass her on the premiership and try and get a big break on her. Those two young men very much now in play for the premiership title.
100%, and as I mentioned before when we watched Michael on Babylon Berlin and Craig as well, Michael's obviously very much matured this year, and you see it in his eyes. He's riding superbly. Babylon Berlin is a classic example, and Craig Grills, they're going to be fighting it out. Whether they get enough of a lead before Lisa comes back, it'll be interesting to see, but you've got to make hay while the sun shines, right?
Plenty of gaps in the females jockey room at the moment. Also injured Tegan Newman. Saw Tegan at the races on Saturday. She's out for a while. And of course, Ellen Nicholas, who has been injured for quite a long time. She will be coming back. She made no bones about that. But it could be a while. So no betting for the jockeys or trainers premierships at the moment, as we are unsure about exactly who's in play for some of those. One of the icons of New Zealand racing who was in the thick of the action on Karaka Million night was George Simon. We catch up with George because he is not the man he used to be.
Well, George, here we are on the parade ring, Karaka Million night. Is it special to you to be the voice of what's become an awfully big machine?
It has become a great machine, hasn't it, Mick? Yeah, it is. It's very special for me. I love coming here to Ellerslie to work. It's my favourite race course in the world. I've been lucky enough to call out a few racetracks around the world. This is commentator's paradise here. But this meeting in a relatively short time has become my favourite race meeting. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that as well. I think for a lot of people this meeting is just so special. Congratulations to New Zealand Bloodstock, to the Auckland Thoroughbred Racing Incorporated. They've really got on board with this, made it such a special, such a unique night of racing, and it's wonderful. It's got a vibe of its own, which is always great to be part of.
I would have thought maybe this is getting close to taking over from the Derby, but you had a surprise for me, George. Your favourite race to call is a race that won't be calling here anytime again soon. The Great Northern's your favourite.
Yeah, that's a real test for horses and jockeys and overweight and Māori commentators, mate. So that was always my favourite race race of the year to call. The Northern, it's unfortunate it won't be staged here because the 3 times up over the Ellerslie Hill made it so unique. But there's something always special to call a derby. It's unique as well, but this night it's fast becoming, I think it is the best race night of the year.
You mentioned a very small club of human beings in New Zealand, formerly overweight Māori race commentators. We'll start with you. You made a decision last year, along with Mary Ann, God bless her, to get back into some sort of shape. Tell us why, and tell us how that's affected your life and your commentating.
Yeah, look, back in August of last year, Mary Ann decided that we should lose a bit of weight. So she put us on a keto diet, something I'd never heard of. I cried when she told me what was involved, Mick. She said no chips? No chips, no carbohydrates, no bread. No bread, no rice, no pasta. It had terrible connotations about it. But I said, look, if you do the meals for me, I'll join her in the journey. She's lost 15 kilos, and I'm very proud of her. And she's absolutely wrapped. And so it's great.
And give us a number.
30 kilos, mate. I've dropped 30 kilos since the 3rd of August last year.
You've just been through a really busy last month. Is it easier being George Simon minus 30 than it was George Simon in August?
We were at our stables the other day, and I went to pick up a bag of Dunstan horse feeds, 30 kilos it was. Mate, I struggled to lift it. And now I realise why when I got off the couch after watching a Netflix movie, it took me 10 minutes to straighten my back and the pressure on my knees. Now, mate, I'm probably at a weight and size that I was at probably my last year at college, which is a long, long time ago, Mick.
George, there's going to be guys and some girls watching this who are like, hey, I've got into some bad habits. Lockdown's been brutal on me. Is it worth it? Is it worth taking those first steps? And how does it work for you mentally and getting to the race meetings and surviving a hot, long, busy summer?
Mate, it has made so much of a difference, physically, mentally. Physically, all my clothes. Now, this shirt, my brother-in-law, he brought it for me a few years ago. I only wore it once because I couldn't fit it. I put it on this morning, mate, and I'm swimming in it. That's the downside, is that I have to buy a new wardrobe because...
what do you do with the old clothes?
I'll keep them just in case. But yeah, mentally I'm sharper. I'm more alert. I certainly don't feel as tired at the end of the day as what I used to. It's everything. I don't want to sound like a dork, mate, honestly, but I know the benefits that it's given Marianne and I. If I can recommend it to anyone, to just have a go at it. We're getting to an age. I'm 59 this year, mate. So you know, we've made a concerted effort to get to where we are, and it's been a wonderful journey.
Well, mate, we're proud of you, but most importantly, we need the voice of Northern racing around for another 20 odd years. So we're happy you're looking after yourself, mate, and go enjoying calling the last two on Karaka Million night.
Yeah, mate, looking forward to it. This is a great night, and the boys get paid. Their contribution to this night cannot be underestimated as well. And yeah, and that machine, Tiako, they're unbelievable. 6 consecutive run-ins and successes in the Karaka Million 2-year-old race. It's just an unbelievable achievement.
Sometimes we take the wonderfully skilled and effervescent commentators in the game for granted. We're so used to hearing them. But, Paul, I don't mean to be too high and mighty about it, but that's a little bit inspirational. There's plenty of people watching the show who might have put on a couple of kegs, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's healthy over the last couple of years. But to hear George and Marianne say, hey, you can do this, and it's not the most impossible thing in the world, and you'll feel better for it, might make a few of us go, okay, I don't quite need to make that second trip to the fridge.
Michael, fair to say if I lost 30 kgs, I'd actually be riding horses, probably not for Jamie Richards, but riding horses again. But funnily enough, over this last lockdown, I dropped 15 as well. So again, it's just about getting the mind right, everything in place, and getting rid of those bad habits. And whilst we're all sat at home not doing anything and worrying about everything else, it's a good way of getting rid of some excess weight.
And I do thank George for telling us his and Marianne's story. And as I said, if it inspires somebody out there to make some healthier choices, well, that's good, because it's incredibly easy in racing season and in lockdowns of any form to not make those choices. So thank you, George. And mate, we're looking forward to having you, the slimmed down version, around our race meetings over the remainder of this summer. Uncertain times ahead with Omicron. We're going to try and keep racing going. Of course, that means community responsibility from all of us to try and keep away from getting the virus, do the right things. We'll keep you updated about those developments here on Weigh In. For now, though, to Paul and his team at Ellerslie, to the team from New Zealand Bloodstock at Karaka, congratulations on a wonderful, wonderful achievement on Saturday night, the highlight of our summer. We're glad we got a chance to review it for you on Weigh In. See you next week.